Good morning, everyone. This is Commissioner Scar. Today is Tuesday, November 25th, 2025, and we'll call this meeting to order at 8 a.m. As a reminder, our call-in number is 1-971-254-3149, conference ID 866-914-607#. Before we get started, I'd like to remind everyone to mute their phone. You can do this by pressing *6. Please unmute yourself when called to speak, again pressing *6. It is very important for all others to remain muted. Thank you. Well, welcome everyone to our call this week of Thanksgiving 2025. We have a little bit of looks like a short list of presenters with us today. So we'll just truck right along through this, I imagine. So with that, I will start with the Board of Commissioners roll call. Commissioner Bell.
Good morning.
Good morning. And Commissioner Fournier.
Good morning.
All right. So we, as I said, are missing a few people, the first of which we are missing Adventist Health this morning. Eric Swanson is unavailable. So typically our next would be the Coastal Caucus. And I did get a message from Suzanne that she was unavailable. I do think we have Representative Javy this morning. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Doing great. Good to be
Excellent.
here.
Good.
Just a short update for today. For this week, we met last week in legislative days. They called us back for a once per quarter meeting to discuss which problems have gotten worse and which ones need some attention. The main focus of last week, while we were there on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, was for us to go back to our committees and figure out what we're going to do about the budget shortfall. Now, on Monday last week, we're down $377 million in a state deficit because of the tax cuts that are coming from H.R. 1, which is the big, beautiful bill that we've heard in the news, which is what President Trump signed this last summer. Now, those tax cuts, because of the way Oregon does its own state taxes, when we file taxes, we pass through the tax deductions that we get on the federal taxes onto our state taxes, which means generally any tax cuts at the federal level also pass through onto our state tax forms as well. And because of that, we estimated a loss of $377 million for the upcoming biennium, the one that we're in right now, actually. And so we have to balance the budget per the Constitution, so we have to go back and figure out what we're going to cut. And so we were talking about in the committees that I'm on, mostly healthcare. In fact, all healthcare except for, well, I shouldn't say all. We did talk about the rest of the human services budget, which includes things like daycare and the OIA, like our youth facilities and different services that fall within human services that aren't healthcare. And we looked at each one of those line by line and started to come up with a list of what we're going to cut. The agencies presented a 2.5% cut option and a 5% cut option for every single program in every department. And I didn't sit on the education committees or transportation or judiciary and the rest of them, but every committee went through the same exercise. By Wednesday, though, we got a new update from the state economist and showed that our estimate of what the shortfall would be was actually decreased. It was now $67 million instead of $377 million. That gave us a little bit of breathing room on how much needs to be cut, but we still will have to make some cuts. And we anticipate, unfortunately, that future bienniums will be worse because we're only getting some of the tax cuts this go round. We haven't actually put into effect some of the additional costs that are coming to the state because of the big, beautiful bill. And so we think that there will be actually more of a shortfall in future biennium. And so we're still looking at other options on how to manage and prepare for that. And we're not looking at raising taxes on Oregonians, but we are looking for ways to save and shift costs around. So more of that to come. But that was basically all of last week. And to get us ready for the upcoming short session, which is in February. Other news for the district, as I've gone around just visiting with folks is still a big concern about housing and the lack of it. The FEMA buyout continues to be something people are concerned on, and it's having an effect on our housing development. And we are waiting to see if the referendum on the transportation tax will have received enough signatures to be referred to the ballot. Should know that in the next couple of weeks. If that is successful, the tax increase, to my understanding, the 6-penny tax increase on the fuel that we pump, will not go into effect in January as planned, which will leave the Transportation Department or agency short about $400 million. And that likely means, although this hasn't been confirmed, but if that's the case and there's no other workaround, which there wasn't a few months ago, and I'm not sure there will be now, we may see cuts coming at the state level with the Oregon Department of Transportation to the maintenance workers, which could result in slower maintenance in response to rock slides and snow removal, etc., during this winter. So we'll see what happens with that. You also may have noticed the gas prices have shot up in the last 24 hours. I was over on the way back from Portland yesterday and noticed that right there, just past Cornelius Pass where that McDonald's is, I forget the name of the road now, that's right off of the highway there, the gas prices, the cheapest gas for unleaded, regular unleaded was $4.39 a gallon, and the most expensive was over $5. By the time I got home, I read the news and saw that the Olympia pipeline, which brings the fuel from the north part of Washington down to Oregon, which is where we get 99% of our fuel, it's probably a little bit less than 99%, but most of it, sprung a leak. And so they had to shut down the pipeline, which means we have less fuel coming in, which means the cost of fuel has skyrocketed. And I think the governor last night declared a state of emergency. I'm not sure. I haven't read the news, what exactly that will let her do to help with that. But until they fix the pipeline issue, we can expect higher gas prices. It seems like for the foreseeable future. I think the state of emergency goes to the end of the year. I hope it doesn't take that long to fix the pipeline, but it's kind of a bummer as we get close to winter and some holidays to see gas prices have gone up quite a bit. I think 25-30% pretty much, 20% pretty much overnight for some communities. So that bit of bad news for our holiday weekend coming up. And other than that, just happy Thanksgiving to everybody, and be safe out there. We're supposed to get a big storm, I think, tomorrow. And we'll be looking at the effects of that. And I should say, just regarding immigration, you will remember 2 weeks ago, there was some rumors about Newport potentially being the site for an ICE detention facility. There still isn't any word for sure if that's going to change. I know that there's a lawsuit right now to bring the Coast Guard helicopter back to the Newport airport. It had been moved down to North Bend, and that will, of course, put more of our fishing fleet at risk because of longer times to get to fishermen if there's vessels, if there's a problem. We're hoping that'll get moved back up to Newport, but in the meantime, I have not heard if there's what the potential compromise will be there, how we'll get to the fleet to make sure they're safer in the event of a worst case scenario. And as far as the ICE detention facility goes, I know Senator Wyden was down in Newport for a town hall that drew, I think, 1,400 or 1,500 people this week. And people are very upset about that. They don't like the way that's going down, the opacity of it, etc. And so we talked about it briefly last week with Representative Gomberg, who it's in his district. He didn't have any new information at the time other than just why they think that is what the site's going to be. They were talking about they were looking for contractors that could move up to 10,000 gallons of human waste per day. They were also looking for people with detention facility experience for bus drivers, healthcare providers for a site there. Unless in the last day or two there's more clarity, I think we're still assuming that's what it's been working fairly on. Not a lot we can do. People certainly can.
So Representative, you're
Uh,
fading in and out.
yeah.
Did you move? We're
Nope.
losing your signal.
The general was going with the issues, but I'll keep the community posted on anything I might hear about what's happening in Newport, and but that's not a whole lot of new news with that. And with that, I don't think I have any other updates for the morning, unless you have some questions.
I have a couple quick questions for you. One was, two things. So the fuel emergency, if I read correctly, one of the key pieces of that in putting that emergency in is it activates that clause for price gouging, which says that, you cannot arbitrarily raise the cost of fuel during a shortage. So I think that's one of the things you mentioned. You weren't sure exactly what that would do, but that was certainly the article I'd read. But the other thing I wanted to ask you is I was at conference last week and there was lots of conversation about whether or not there was an e-board occurring in the legislature to take up some requests that had come in around sheltering additional funding. Do you know if that happened or anything about that?
I did not hear last week if that happened or what
Okay.
the status of that will be by the end of the year. I do know there is the e-board will. I would be surprised if the e-board didn't meet. I know there's several requests in. Those requests have been coming from the agencies. I just haven't heard one way or the other when that will meet and when the decision will be made.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. I was curious about that.
Yep.
All right. Any other questions for the representative? Yes, please.
Thanks, Commissioner. Good morning. Good morning, Representative Javity. I just
Good morning.
received a question. Good morning to you. A question, someone texted me a question for you, which was, do you know who owns the pipeline that burst a leak?
Oh my gosh, good question.
Huh?
I don't know off the top of my head who owns that pipeline. Oh my gosh, good question. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure.
Okay. Yeah, well, it is a good question, and thanks for fielding it. And I wanted to mention the Newport. I just read this morning that the Newport wives who sued to return the Coast Guard helicopter to Newport, the Department of Homeland Security removed it without any notice. Newport Wives and a number of other organizations sued, and the U.S. Supreme Court judge ordered that the Newport helicopter be returned. So I just read that this morning, so I was very interested in that. Yeah, and I think I understood, but maybe you can help clear this up for me, that active airports can't be used for ICE facilities. And so I wondered if that was connected, like was the helicopter removed and therefore the airport was inactive, or can you tell us any more about that?
I don't know anything. I mean, I'd heard the same thing. I'm not sure. The last I recalled, there was an active runway in Newport that the general aviation fleet could land at, but I might be wrong. But I'd heard the same thing, and that might be why they had moved the Coast Guard helicopter. I've made a note, and I'll find out, and if I get some information, I'll pass it on to you, and then update the community next week.
Thank you. And finally, folks around here have been asking me, well, is our airport safe from that? And my answer so far has been, I don't know for sure, but I do know we have an active airport. Do you have or can you get any further information for us on that?
Yeah, I'll get some more information on that as well. It was one of the questions I had, but I've not been able to get an answer. I will check with Representative Bonamici and Senator Merkley's office, who might have the answer to that, or can at least get the answer for us.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, and happy Thanksgiving.
You too.
All right, thank you. Any other questions or comments for the representative? All right, not hearing any. Thank you so much for being with us. Happy Thanksgiving week, and we will continue through our agenda this morning.
Absolutely. And I did just look up the Olympic pipeline question, and it is owned by the Olympic Pipeline Company, which is convenient, which is a subsidiary of BP. So
Oh,
BP
okay.
Oil, but that's all I know at this point. But it looks like it's privately owned. Yep.
Okay.
All right.
Thank
Thanks.
you for
Talk to you
that.
guys later.
Yep. And isn't Google wonderful? Okay. All right. So moving on to the Tillamook County Community Health Centers, and we have Anya Reeser with us today. Good morning, Anya.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for your time. We've got a couple of updates for you. November is Native American Heritage Month. This month, we take time to understand health issues that Native Americans face. This is also a time to acknowledge the original inhabitants of our region. Native American communities face worse health outcomes, such as a higher rate of injury, suicide, and chronic liver disease. According to the American Addiction Centers, the AAC, Native Americans struggle with substance abuse at much higher rates than other racial and ethnic groups. Factors like historical trauma, violence, poverty, and discrimination increase the risks of addiction and other health problems. Repeated displacement and colonization have caused trauma. As a result, Native Americans also face cultural struggles with keeping their language and history alive. The Nehalem, Tillamook, Nistucca, and Siletz tribes are the original inhabitants of the land in Tillamook County. These tribes have a rich history with coastal lands and the sea. This November, we encourage everyone to take the time to learn about the history of the land you live on and the customs and traditions of our local tribes. We have a couple of Thanksgiving food safety tips for you. Thanksgiving holiday is coming soon, and we want everyone to enjoy a safe and healthy holiday season. If you're serving a turkey, we want to share some tips to prevent foodborne illness. Turkey and its juice can contain germs such as Salmonella, Campylobacter, as well as other bacteria. Whether you're cooking a whole turkey or just a part, take special care to prevent food poisoning. Cook to a safe temperature, which is recommended at 165 degrees Fahrenheit. It's best to use a food thermometer to make sure your turkey has reached a safe internal temperature of 165 degrees, even if your turkey has a pop-up timer. Insert the food thermometer into 3 places, avoiding bone. First spot should be the thickest part of the breast, second at the thigh, where the body and thigh join, and the third at the wing, where the body and wing join. Another tip is to avoid washing your raw turkey. Washing your raw turkey can leave behind bacteria that can contaminate your sink, countertops, other food and utensils, increasing the risk of you and your family getting sick. If you decide to wash raw turkey, immediately clean and thoroughly sanitize the sink and surrounding area. To further avoid cross-contamination, do not use the same cooking utensil for cutting board or other food that was used with the raw turkey. And lastly, clean your hands. As always, wash your hands before cooking, after handling raw meat, and when done cooking. We've got an update regarding respiratory illness. As many have probably already experienced, the respiratory illness season is here. The Oregon Health Authority and West Coast Health Alliance recommend updated flu and COVID vaccines for all people 6 months and older who want them, especially if you belong to a high-risk group. The risk group includes people over the age of 65, anyone with underlying health conditions, and individuals with weakened immune systems. The RSV vaccine is recommended for some infants and pregnant individuals. We urge you to speak with your primary provider to see what is right for you. A single lifetime dose of RSV is also recommended for all adults 75 years of age and older, and adults 50 to 74 with risk factors for severe RSV disease should also receive a single lifetime dose. And finally, a couple of upcoming events and notices. We'd like listeners to know that Tillamook County Community Health Centers and clinics will be closed to celebrate the Thanksgiving holiday this Thursday, November 27th, and Friday, November 28th. Our locations will be open regular business hours the following Monday, December 1st. For urgent needs, Adventist Health has urgent care clinics across the county. And remember, for significant pain, injury, or difficulty breathing, call 911 for emergency care. Thank you.
Thank you, Anya. Okay, any questions for Anya? All right, not hearing any. We appreciate you being with us. And we move on to the Nehalem Bay Health Center and Pharmacy. Good morning, Gail.
Yes, good morning, and thank you, Anya, for your very informative update. I do appreciate listening and learning more about things in this area. And for the Nehalem Bay Health Center and Pharmacy in Wheeler, we continue to work with our insurance companies here for dental credentialing, and I know this is potentially causing a little bit of anxiety because it is something that takes a little bit of time. Unfortunately, there's not much we can do. We're sort of at the mercy of the insurance companies in this regard, but we are working diligently to this effort so that we soon will be fully ramped up for our dental services. In the meantime, we are providing care to those who are uninsured or underinsured, and so that's a good thing. And also, tomorrow we will have a late opening. We will open at 9 due to staff training. So that's tomorrow, Wednesday. And similarly, we are closed for the holiday, but will be open as usual on Monday this coming week. And that's it for me this morning, unless there are any questions.
Thank you, Gail. Any questions for Gail? All right, not hearing any. We will keep moving. Tillamook Family Counseling Center is unavailable this morning, so we will jump to Randy Thorpe, Emergency Management. Good morning, Randy.
Good morning, Commissioner.
All right, you're on.
I'd like to talk a little bit about some exciting news that Tillamook County is going to be hosting some very important and informative courses over the next couple of months. Excuse me. The first one is going to be, it's called, it's a FEMA course. It's called the National Incident Management System Overview for Senior Officials. That doesn't mean old ones. It just means our executives elected and appointed, which would include our city managers, our mayors, our county commissioners, and anybody else who is a senior official of their organization. And what it is that this class will go over kind of the roles that these individuals have during emergencies and how they interact with both the incident command teams and our emergency operating centers, and how they fit into declarations of emergency and a whole bunch of other stuff. So it's really going to be a great course to orient a lot of people into what we consider the roles to be during these types of emergencies. The first course will be on December 11th of this year, and it's going to be held up at the Nehalem Bay Fire and Rescue Department up in Nehalem, and it'll start at 8 o'clock. It's a 4-hour course. There is an online registration form that you can fill out, and that's available on our county website. I appreciate the pre-signing up for it, because there is some material that I can email out to those who are attending so they can go over it before the course actually starts. And the next one is going to be on January 8th. January 11th. We'll get this right. Too many classes, I'm sorry. Okay, on January 8th, it'll be held at the 911 Center. And that will be, again, at 8 o'clock. And it'll be the same course. It's just another opportunity for those who couldn't make it on December 11th. Then on January 8th, we're going to have another course. And this one is called the Emergency Operating Center and the Incident Command System Interface. And this is just kind of how our Emergency Operating Center works with those who are on the ground and working with any types of emergencies or disasters that we have within the county. This is a great course for those who want to know more about how the operating center and emergency operating center interfaces, like I say, works with the people working on the ground. And this is an 8-hour course, and it's a great course for anybody who has interest in that. And so that, like I say, will be held on the 8th of January at the 911 Center here in Tillamook County, in Tillamook City, sorry. Okay, then a little later on in the month, on the 20th, we're going to have another course, and it's kind of a series of courses. It's a new one that's come out from FEMA, and it's called the Intermediate Emergency Operations Center Functions. And this is a great course for those who are going to be participating in our Emergency Operating Center. It goes over their roles and responsibilities and how, again, to work in that type of environment, that situation, what's expected of those who are there. So that's another great course. But it's unfortunately, but fortunately, it's a 3-day course. So it's a 24-hour course that FEMA requires us to make sure that it's got 24 hours of instruction with that. So hopefully, as soon as I find a site for that, I will get that information out. And again, that I'm hoping that we're giving enough time that people can arrange some schedules to make it. And then lastly, in February, we're going to be bringing back the Incident Command System 300 and 400 courses. We held them this last spring, and it was some great training for a few people, and we're hoping that we get more people coming in our 2 February dates. And the first February date is the 3rd through the 5th, and the next, the 400 will be on the 17th through the 18th. And that's a 2-day course. The 300 course is a 3-day course. And again, as soon as I find and nail down a location for those trainings, I will get that information, get out and get it sent out and emailed out to a lot of the people that I feel would really benefit from those courses. So hopefully I'll be able to keep your winners busy with some training, and we'll get some good turnout to these. We've got some really good turnout already to our senior official classes, and I'm glad to see that our county commissioners have signed up for that. So that's great. And so with that, I will turn it back to you, Commissioner Scar.
Thank you, Randy. Sounds great. Lots of good training coming up. And I think it's one of those pieces where for all of us to understand the incident command system and response pieces of it is super valuable. So any questions or comments for Randy this morning?
Oh, I'd just like to echo your thanks to Randy for getting all those classes scheduled. That's a lot of opportunities for our community and so many applications, not only for people in leadership roles, but also for all of the fire departments and all of the ambulance crew and folks who are involved in preparedness. There are so many applications for those skills that it's really a wealth of knowledge that you're offering to the community. So thank you.
Perfect. All right. With that, we are going to move on to our Board of Commissioners. Commissioner Fournier, would you kick us off this morning, please?
Well, good morning. Yeah, I was going to speak about the Coast Guard helicopter, but I think I still will. Although Rep. Javidi and Commissioner Bell both addressed it. I'll just give a few more details. One, Tillamook County will be responding. Chair Scar will be writing a letter regarding the removal of the helicopter. I just want to give a little background. People don't realize this maybe, but the Fishermen's Wives in Newport who have sued Department of Homeland Security in court about the removal of the helicopter. They did that back in 2014, and that lawsuit never went all the way through because the Congress intervened and produced a bill that requiring the Coast Guard to have public notice and also a safety analysis before removing an asset such as that. So this has happened before, and there's a law that says they can't do that without public input and a safety analysis. And I think that's important. This is not a political thing. I know the Immigration Center keeps coming up, but this, for me, this is personally about public safety. As someone who has pulled people out of the water, both alive and not alive, and have resuscitated people. I can tell you that adding 100 miles to a response of a helicopter can be deadly, and minutes matter when someone's in the water. And trust me, if you're in the water in a capsized boat coming over a bar, and another helicopter is tied up, it could take upwards of an hour, depending on where they are. And one of the things I wanted to address too is some of the things I've seen on social media where uninformed people are asking, well, the helicopter can land anywhere. The helicopter can land at the hospital. The helicopter can land at the airport. The problem is not where the helicopter can land. It's where the helicopter is based, and the response time for that. So this is really important. And luckily, yes, a federal judge last night issued a restraining order, which is only good for 14 days. And I can't find a report whether the helicopter has been returned or not, but that has been ordered by a federal judge. So hopefully this lawsuit, at least the threat of the lawsuit, will maybe get DHS to move the helicopter back. But the other thing I saw online was just use other assets. There must be other assets in the area, and I can tell you there is no other assets on the Oregon coast, all 363 miles of it, where we have a search and rescue capability located at the coast for water rescues. So this is so vital to us. There's been incidences in the last 2 decades that I've been involved in water rescue, or 3 decades, where I've actually been in the helicopter. I've been airlifted in the helicopter with a patient. These things are necessary. We are just starting our crab season, and I just urge everybody to let your Congress people know your concern about this, that this is a safety issue for all of our fisher people that go out in the water, all of our fishing fleets that are just about to start one of the most dangerous seasons, crabbing season, that we have here. So that's all I have to say about that. I just wanted to touch upon the fact that this isn't the first time this has happened, and I hope people will remove the politics from it and just look at the public safety aspect of it, because sometimes the importance of things gets ignored or buried because it becomes a political hot potato. So I just want to say that. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. I couldn't agree more. Okay, Commissioner Bell, please.
Good morning again. Well, there are a couple things I want to mention. Last week we were at the Association of Oregon Counties Conference, which is always informative. We always learn things and get to know new people, build connections, etc. And one of the things that I heard, one of the sessions that was most impactful for me was on the federal emergency services and FEMA in particular. And we heard from a presenter that it looks as if this isn't final by any means, but it looks as if the FEMA flood insurance program is going away. So I'm not saying this. This is what I learned in a class at AOC last week. I will research it more, but that's what they said. It looks as if the FEMA flood insurance program, the federally backed flood insurance program, is going away, and that has huge implications for our community, and some of them dire in terms of people who have mortgages. A lot of people, if they buy or build on a floodplain, their mortgage is attached to their flood insurance. It's a requirement. So if the flood insurance goes away, that'll put the banks and the owners, everybody, in an immediate pickle to figure out what to do about that. It raises the immediate question of what kinds of private insurance are available, how much, and but also there's also the fascinating implication for the FEMA BiOp, which you've probably been listening to us talk about for years, because that's the leverage that FEMA has been holding over our heads, is that they would kick us out of the flood insurance program. So if the feds are eliminating the flood insurance program, then that could upend that lawsuit potentially. So I thought that was fascinating and worth the week away. And there were other really cool things that happened also. The keynote speaker was very moving. he gave a powerful, powerful talk about mental illness, and the upshot of which, the takeaway for me anyway, was that you just never know. You never know what kind of internal agony people are walking around with, and that we should be compassionate with ourselves and each other. So, and that was very powerful. And also, I want to congratulate Commissioner Scar, who was officially elected to the Association of Oregon Counties role of president. Congratulations. It's a huge honor. She'll represent all 36 counties in the state and lead the organization for the next year. And we're just really proud to have Commissioner Scar representing all of us. So that was awesome. And finally, I want to talk just for a minute about Thanksgiving and a couple of things I'm very thankful for. I have had the opportunity in the last few days to attend some community events. That feeding the community is a deep value of mine and that of many other people. And it's more important now than ever because there are fewer resources and more hungry people. And so on yesterday, the Rotary Club, well, I'll back up for a second. The Rotary Club of Tillamook had a pie event on Saturday night at Pacific. Again, Nelia at Pacific did a fabulous job. She's such an asset to the community. She does these fabulous community fundraisers out of the goodness of her heart, just barely covering her expenses and probably not that. And so the Rotary Club had this Pie Night fundraiser for Rotary scholarships and raised $10,000 for scholarships for Tillamook County High School students, which was amazing with pies. So that was great and just reminded me once more of the outstanding generosity of our community. And it was really fun. And Brett Hurleman is a great auctioneer. It was just a good time all around and great food. But also there at that event, Brett said, hey, you know, the Rotary Club had just decided, like on a wing and a prayer a couple weeks ago, to offer Thanksgiving food boxes. And so if you want to sign up to fund a Thanksgiving food box, it's $50, and we're trying to feed as many hungry families as we can. So yesterday they were putting together the food boxes and delivering them. So I went over to volunteer for a couple hours in the afternoon, and it was just so great. So I want to talk about this for a second and end on this. It was at the Y, it was a combined effort between the Rotary Club of Tillamook, the Tillamook County Family YMCA, and also Grocery Outlet that provided all of the groceries at cost. And it came together like idea to execution in 2 weeks. And a couple weeks ago at a Rotary meeting, people were talking about worried about hunger in the community and what can they do? And somebody said, what about Thanksgiving meals? And so everybody said, yeah, that's a great idea. But 2 weeks, you know, in 2 weeks, they put it all together, the plan. The new YMCA director said, well, yeah, let's try it. And Rotary said, sure, let's do it. And the owner of the Grocery Outlet was there and said, yes, I'll get the food. And so they, within 2 weeks, they had raised the money and gotten applications for 265 local families to get a box of food that would be a traditional Thanksgiving meal for 6 people. And yesterday, all that food was delivered to the Y. 50 volunteers showed up to put the boxes together. People came and they picked it up themselves. And so they had a drive-through line at the Y parking lot, and there were all kinds of volunteers moving the boxes and putting the boxes in cars. And it was so moving and joyful, really. You know, it was, as a volunteer, I loved it. Like doing that kind of work together, getting together with people in the community to do meaningful work. Everybody wants to be there. We all believe in what we're doing. You get to know people a little bit. Like I learned some fascinating things about my neighbors yesterday, just working with them. And it was just good for everyone. It was good for the people who were receiving the benefit of food as love, and good for everyone who participated. It was uplifting all the way around, and really the spirit of Thanksgiving. So thanks to everyone, and I hope you all have a wonderful Thanksgiving.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Bell. Any questions for Commissioner Bell? Okay, not hearing any, I will jump in. As Commissioner Bell indicated, we were all at the AOC conference last week, which was a great opportunity, as she said, to network with our peers and to learn new things. And I am honored to be in the role of president. I will be very honest with my community that it means there will be a little bit more time that I will spend in Salem. One of the very, very big roles of the Association of Oregon Counties is to represent the 36 counties in conversations at the state legislature. So while there will be a short session this year rather than a long session, there will be a significant number of conversations leading up to that session, through the session, including testimony, and following the session as we prepare for next year's long session. The benefit for Tillamook County is that I will be there in those conversations, bringing forward the voice of all 36 counties, but also the voice of Tillamook County and how that fits within the work that we're doing at the state level. So at conference this year, one of the other pieces that I was able to do was a sit down with the governor to talk again a bit about what's important to the 36 counties. And in that conversation, I was able to once again elevate the voice of Tillamook County in relation to timber, as well as relationship to some mental health contracting issues that are currently happening at the state level between all counties and the state. So AOC is a really important organization for Tillamook County because we do not have our own lobbyists. We do not have the ability on our own to spend significant time in Salem with the legislature. So I will get access and opportunity for Tillamook County as well as all 36 counties in this position. So honored to be selected by my fellow commissioners and look forward to that piece of work. It does mean that you may see just a little bit less of me here in Tillamook County. So I will definitely continue to be here serving you all, but maybe, as I said, out of county just a little more frequently. The other thing that happened over this week of conference for me was a whole bunch of timber. The Board of Forestry decided to have a special meeting on Tuesday of conference. So I was, as the chair of the Council of Forest Trust Land Counties, participated in that meeting, providing testimony to the Board of Forestry. The intended purpose of that meeting was to make a decision on the metric of harvest that they would put into the forest management plan. At the last minute, they decided not to make a decision, but we did go ahead and provide our testimony, reminding them that the Habitat Conservation Plan, which they passed a year and a half or so ago, provides a significant amount of conservation measures, of which we are all, supporting that, and we hope for and expect that the lands that are not specifically set aside for the conservation measures will be available for the socioeconomic pieces of harvest that support our communities and support the department directly. So for those of you who either have not been in the conversation or may not remember, 55% of the state forest is now set aside in special reserve to not harvest. That leaves 45% of the forest available for harvest. So this is a really important balance for the Board of Forestry to strike, and to remember that they have already put more than half of our forest into conservation, which allows for great environments for the spotted owl, for the marbled murrelet, for various other species, including coho salmon. So there's a lot of good work that's been done to protect species that are endangered. And now we need to make sure that we also support our community. So had the opportunity to provide that testimony. Following that testimony, the opportunity to talk with the natural resource advisor out of the governor's office and remind them directly as well about the need in our communities, and the fact that we sat at a table with them for nearly 2 years looking for any other way that perhaps communities that have been timber dependent could shift and do something different. And the answer really came up from that conversation that there is no state revenue that will support us. It will be harvest or it will not be support at all. So just an opportunity to remind them of that as well, going into the decision that will ultimately be made by the Board of Forestry. The other thing that occurred while I was at conference was the state forester interviews. As some of you may be aware, the last state forester left quite some time ago. Our own Kate Skinner, who's been the district forester here for many, many years, is the interim state forester right now. So she was one of our interviews, and we interviewed interviewed 4 other individuals as well. There is more interviewing to happen, but it was nice to be a part of that initial panel. We screened that 5 down to about 3. There was a secondary panel that was going to screen as well, and we'll see how the 2 panels felt and see if we came up with the same 3 candidates. But more to come. There will be a meet and greet when they get down to their final 2. So I look forward to continuing to be a part of that conversation, again, on behalf of not only Tillamook County, but actually the entire 15 counties that are part of the Council of Forest Trust Land Counties. At conference, I did move from being the chair of the council to being the vice chair, in a nod to the fact that I will be the AOC president, so I'm going to have different places to go. But I promise you I will keep Tillamook County's needs at the forefront of my mind as I am traveling and doing work on behalf of these organizations. So with that, I'm going to move us on to our cities, and I will begin with the city of Manzanita, and I believe it's Mayor Stock with us this morning.
Yes, I'm right here. Thank you very much, Commissioner Scar. So I guess I've gotten really more thanks than anything else to talk about this morning, which is just fine with me. So thanks to Randy and the group he works with for getting those courses set up. I have been long awaiting getting into some training on this, and as mayor here, that's really important. And I've learned a lot, of course, from our people here locally. But I'm very much looking forward to those classes. So glad for that, and thank you for getting those scheduled for our city leaderships in particular. Then I also want to congratulate Commissioner Scar. That's great news for you, and it's also great news for our county, because my feeling when I hear about news like this for any of the people on this call and others in the community, you know, the more senior a role you've got, the more influence you can have in setting direction and policy for the long term. And your deep knowledge of the county is really important at the state level. So I'm sure Tillamook County and also other rural counties in Oregon will greatly benefit from you being in that chair position. So good luck with all that and all the driving to the Capitol, which I would not look forward to in particular, but I'm sure you're an old hand at it by now. And then lastly, I want to thank 2 groups of people, our Public Works Department and Tillamook People's Utility District folks. We have got new lights. And now this may seem like a small thing, but I think in the time when we're approaching the darker days of the year, and some cheer is always welcome by all of us here at the coast, we've got a beautiful new display of lighting that's up, snowflakes, in fact, up and down our main street and in front of our city hall, and a beautiful new kind of a lighted banner that you pass under now when you come down Lanita Avenue. That happened because our Public Works Department was just determined to get that improved from what we've had for the last couple of years. So they all worked personally on getting those things in place. And then kind of the icing on the cake was the bucket truck, if that's the right term, from the Tillamook People's Utility District showing up with our great folks who help us up here in all kinds of weather. They were there to assist with lighting going across the street to make sure everything was safe and good for everyone, as of course all the lighting is attached to power poles. So I want to thank everybody involved with that, and we've gotten a lot of nice feedback from people who are appreciating those already. And a little light in the dark of year is always a good thing. And so thanks to the folks who made all that possible. And that's it from Manzanita this morning.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for the kind words. Okay, we will move on to Rockaway Beach. Mayor McNeely.
Good morning from Rockaway Beach, and happy Thanksgiving to all. I'll begin by commending the outstanding emergency response from our Public Works Department last week. While most of our town was asleep, Public Works worked through the night to isolate and repair the city's main water supply line, connecting our water treatment plant with the city's water system. Our field crew, treatment plant staff, and a contractor worked together to identify the issue, reroute the supply, carry out repairs, and resume production before dawn. This accomplishment was no easy task, but our talented and dedicated Public Works team made it possible. A big shout out to Public Works, and I know all of our cities and county rely heavily on their Public Works Department, and they all do a terrific job. Last week, Our fourth sewer rate information flyer was sent out. The new mailer provides a concise summary of recent rate history, inflation, and system needs. Additionally, it emphasizes that since the last rate adjustment in 2009, the city has paid off all sewer debt and has avoided incurring additional debt, resulting in the proposed rate increase being significantly lower than it otherwise would have been. The proposed rates are outlined, and an invitation to attend the upcoming public hearing on the matter in December is included. Now, some holiday fun coming to Rockaway Beach. The fire department is bringing back Rockaway Beach's Holiday Bazaar at City Hall this Friday and Saturday from 10 to 5 and Sunday from 12 noon to 4. Local crafts and gifts, raffle baskets, treats, and more are available. We also will have tables at the International Police Museum as the demand for space from local vendors and craftspersons outstripped what we had available at City Hall. And then we have our annual Christmas tree lighting this Friday evening, beginning at 5:30 p.m. at the Wayside. Refreshments and caroling for the whole family. Santa will arrive on the Rockaway Beach tree lighting train at 6 p.m. Tickets are available on the Oregon Coast Scenic Railroad website for the train ride from Garibaldi to Rockaway Beach with Santa. Tree lighting at 6:30 p.m. Stores remain open into the evening with holiday discounts. The event has been referred to as a Hallmark movie in Rockaway Beach. With that, I'll kick it back to you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay, moving on to the City of Bay City. I believe we have Mayor Leanne Welch this morning.
Good morning, Commissioner Starr.
Good morning.
What I'd like to do is I'd like to present a process that the Tillamook Fire Department, Bay City's Fire Department and Tillamook Fire District have been working on since last summer. Last summer, Bay City's Council and the Board of Tillamook Fire District unanimously agreed to set up a steering committee to evaluate the pros and cons of a more integrated organization to provide emergency and fire response. The steering committee was comprised of a diverse group of individuals, including volunteer firefighters, elected officials, paid staff, and members of the public. The full steering committee met in open public meetings every other week from August through November and worked through a long list of issues. This resulted in the presentation of a recommendation to both Bay City Council and Tillamook Fire District Board, and both of those bodies voted unanimously to proceed with the formation of a new combined fire district. So the next that will be coming up is that we'll be asking the county commissioners to hold a couple of public hearings to bring forth this looking for a new formation of the Bay City Fire Department and Tillamook Fire Department into a new fire district that will encompass both of those. And we believe that this will be better service for both and all the citizens in those fire districts. So a lot of work has been happening over this last summer and fall, and looking forward to the next steps and possibly a ballot measure in the May 2026 election. Other things happening is this morning at 9:30, we have coffee with the mayor and city manager at Bay City Hall. And I just want to also wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. Are there any questions for me this morning?
Thank you, Mayor. Any questions? Okay, not hearing any. Thank you for your report, and we will move on to the City of Tillamook. We have City Manager Sean Lewis this morning.
Good morning, everyone, and happy Turkey Week. The City of Tillamook has several items to discuss this morning. First off, we have some road grading that will either be taking place this week or next. We're not sure which, depending on when the contractor will get out here, but that'll be on 7th between Miller Avenue and Pacific Avenue. This is grading to mitigate potholes. There will be reduced traffic down to one lane on each side. We're not going to close the road entirely. It'll just be reduced to one side. So if you live on 7th between Miller and Avenue or between Miller and Park, just be aware that that's going to be happening in the next couple of weeks. We are excited that our water transmission project phase 1 is finally going out to bid. This is a realization of many months and lots of aggravation and such like that. But this is going to bid. Our bid opening will be on January 8th with hopes that the contractor will begin as soon as possible after that. This is a project long time coming and will be good for the long-term future of our water transmission here in the city. City Hall will be closed for the observance of Thanksgiving, both tomorrow, Wednesday, and Thursday. We'll be back for on Monday, December 1st, which we will have our city council meeting that night, which has a couple of interesting things on it. The agenda. The first one is our first review of applicants for both Ward 2 and Ward 5 city council seats. So you still have a couple of days or maybe today to get your application in if you want to be considered for one of those roles. This is a good time to get in where you don't have to run. It's just an application for volunteers, and you can come and represent those wards if you'd like. And then also on that, per the mayor's just comment, we will be having a presentation to our city council on the fire district merger. This is something that the city is not directly involved in. However, because this does affect our residents, we do have to have a presentation and maybe pass a resolution of support. So we want to make sure that we have the full knowledge about that. So that's going to happen there. And then a couple of things coming up in the future both on December 6th. This is a Saturday. There will be a wrestling tournament at the high school, and I want to make sure I get this right. I'm pulling up my information here. So this will be the youth wrestling tournament at Tillamook High School in support of the Concerns of Police Survivors Oregon chapter. This group supports Oregon law enforcement families when an officer dies in the line of duty. This year, the tournament will be in memory of Jim Whitehead, one of the founding members of the Oregon chapter of COPS. The Tillamook Police Department will be there along with other law enforcement agencies across the state to help in this important fundraiser. So that'll be happening at the high school on Saturday, December 6th. Then you go watch some wrestling. Later that night, we have our tree lighting ceremony and electric light parade that will be happening here in town. So we'll have more details as that gets closer, but put those on your calendar because those are both fun events, and we want to see as much of the support of the public as we can as we get into this holiday season.
All right. Thank you. Any questions for Sean before we wrap up today? Not hearing any. I will thank KTIL for broadcasting, everyone for listening, and we'll look forward to talking with you all next week after the holiday. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.